Israeli ground forces are reportedly poised to push into Gaza City. With northern Gaza effectively sealed off, Jordan is making a first-of-its-kind airdrop of relief. We have video this morning from Jordan TV. In a social media post, Jordan's king says medical supplies were dropped into Gaza from the Jordan Field Hospital overnight. This is for that field hospital overnight, and that hospital is inside Gaza City. Israel's military says it helped coordinate the airlift. On Friday, the U.S. Special Envoy had said as many as 400,000 people were still in northern Gaza. Ellen Morrow is part of our CBC News team covering the war, and she is live in Jerusalem with us this hour. Ellen, the latest that we have heard from Israel's military is that Gaza is cut in half by Israeli tanks and troops. What is the latest that we are hearing on plans for Gaza City and the Israeli ground offensive?
Well, Heather, reports from Gaza overnight say it was the heaviest night of bombing yet. And in the images of the Gaza City skyline from overnight and all over Gaza, you see huge explosions lighting up the night sky. Now, it's hard to know the full extent of what happened there overnight because phone and internet services were again cut off. They're coming back online this morning, but it was the third telecoms blackout of the war. Now, the IDF has commented, the Israel Defense Forces has commented on the strikes from last night, calling them significant. We're also getting an update from them this morning saying that in the last 24 hours, the military has hit some 450 Hamas targets, things like command centers, the IDF says, and those tunnels that Hamas has under Gaza that we've been talking so much about. Now, the military is again, as we heard them do yesterday, calling on civilians to move from the north to the south of Gaza. We've heard that call several times now throughout the war, saying they'll be safer there, that a road has been opened up for 4 hours today for people to be able to do that. But aid agencies have continuously been criticizing these evacuation orders. Israel says it's trying to help minimize harm on civilians, but aid agencies say, look, this is a war zone. It's not easy for people who've been under near constant bombardment, who don't have supplies, who don't have fuel, to be able to relocate themselves to the south of the Gaza Strip in the midst of this war zone. So criticism there. As you said, it's estimated that there are still 300 to 4,000, perhaps more, people in Gaza City, the height of where all of this fighting is taking place. And we've also heard from the UN saying that all of its facilities in the south of Gaza are completely over capacity. They don't have the ability to take in to help any more people in those shelters there. We've also seen that there's continued to be airstrikes south of the evacuation line that's coming from the Israeli military. So aid agencies are saying, Heather, look, there is absolutely no place that's safe in the Gaza Strip.
Ellen, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken continues his shuttle diplomacy. He's in Turkey today, and we're going to be talking more about that. But what he's been talking about, a humanitarian pause, that remains elusive this morning. And against that backdrop, we're hearing from agencies with the United Nations making an extraordinary appeal about the humanitarian crisis. What are they saying today?
Well, the humanitarian situation, Heather, gets more dire by the day, more dire by the hour, so much so that we have this extraordinary joint statement that's been issued by the heads of UN aid agencies. Now, in this statement, it acknowledges the pain here in Israel after the October 7th attack, saying 1,400 Israelis were killed, more than 200 others taken hostage. Hamas still firing rockets into Israel, most of which are intercepted by the Iron Dome, but acknowledging the suffering and trauma here. But that statement goes on to say, and we can show you, however, the horrific killings of even more civilians in Gaza is an outrage. An entire population is besieged and under attack, denied access to the essentials for survival, bombed in their homes, shelters, hospitals, and places of worship. This is unacceptable. We can also play you a clip from a spokesperson from the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs about this statement, Heather.
Simply horrific and terrible. I think that you have seen over and over images from reporters on the ground. I really think that humanity has to beg itself a question: where is the limit for humanity become inhumanity.
So the UN, Heather, in this statement, the heads of these agencies is calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. We heard Antony Blinken calling for a humanitarian pause to the fighting over the weekend as well. But as you said, that remains incredibly elusive. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke again last night, meeting with troops in southern Israel, saying there will be no stop to the fighting until the more than 200 hostages being held by Hamas are free.
Ellen, thank you so much. Ellen Morrow, part of our CBC News team. Ellen is in Jerusalem.